My name is Faith. I am 20 and I am from Clearwater, Florida. Basically my childhood, I grew up originally in Orlando, Florida my whole entire life. My mom is a pastor's kid, so church was familiar to me. It wasn't life, but it was familiar to me for sure. I have two older brothers, and it's pretty much been the four of us actually, my whole entire life. I had to trouble a lot when I was younger, and then when I got older, when I got to high school, it kind of simmered down. I realized that that wasn't anything that I wanted to be a part of. But also when I got to high school was when I moved to Clearwater, and that's when I really started diving sort of into my Christian walk and my Christ relationship. We would go to church occasionally. She dealt with a lot of church hurt and stuff like that, so it was an occasional thing. But anytime I went, I felt this draw. I loved being there. I never went to kids' church. It was not my thing. I was always in the main sanctuary with the adults. I never knew why. It was always just this draw that I sort of had. And when I got to high school, I finally got to a point of, I can't wait for my mom to be ready to go. I can't wait for my brothers to be ready to go. It was just a decision that I was just like, I just have to be there, I have to go. And I finally found a church. I found people that I loved that made me feel welcomed. And it was through that I started to be involved in different circles that showed me that it's not just going to church on a Sunday, but it's this daily walk and choice. And that started to intrigue me even more. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much more than four walls. I always use the joke that because my name is Faith, I think it's the biggest challenge I actually have. People expect you to be like this person full of faith. You stand by your name, you stand by. But it's actually, I think, the number one thing I struggle with. It's trusting in what you can't see or control. And I'm very much a control freak. So it's like, oh no, but I struggle often. I'm struggling right now, you know, in the midst of fasting and figuring life out. I'm struggling now on what my future is gonna look like. But definitely, I struggle often, even on the smallest and stupidest of things that God has already confirmed and revealed. Still sometimes when it feels like nothing looks right, I'm just like, oh, this is not working. This is not going the way you said it would. I think some of the most pivotal things, and something that I joke about and like capitalize on, is that I have daddy issues. My biological father left my life when I was 5, and I saw him occasionally, nothing consistent, but my mom met a new guy around the same time that he had left, and they were together for 13, 14 years, and just recently, you know, there were some infidelity issues and they're on the verge of a divorce. And so men, when it comes to my life, have always been a struggle. My worth has always been a struggle for me. Insecurity has always been a struggle for me. And if there's one thing that I've learned, especially in these past 2 years, is like finding my identity and my security in Jesus. And I think it's made my relationship with him a little difficult because he loves to call himself a father, and I've never had that in my life. So it's like, how can I trust you? But yeah, I think definitely a big part of me and why I am the way that I am was raised by my mama, a strong woman on her own, and I will always be like that. You know, I will always have that independent mindset, that I can do this by myself mindset. And sometimes it aggravates people. Sometimes it makes people excited because they're like, okay, we can trust her. But it has been a struggle, trusting people, allowing people to love me, and just loving myself in general. So tattoos have always been something I love. My mom has tattoos, my brothers have tattoos. I was like, oh my God, I want a tattoo. But people always tell you, like, if you're gonna get a tattoo, think thoroughly because it's there forever. And so the 3 I got, I will say, were kind of on a whim, but a thoughtful whim. So my first one I ever got was right here on my wrist, and it says surrender. And one day I was in class, and a friend of mine, his name is Colby, he was just literally doodling all over it, and he wrote that word, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. He's like, here, you can have it. And I kept it in my phone case for a long time, and when I finally made the decision, I want a tattoo, I just don't know what I want first. I had been going through a season where God was literally asking me to just literally lay everything at his feet and just wait. And so I thought it was the most perfect stamp of a season of my life and a constant posture, and it's a constant reminder. And I love when I'm worshiping and I lift my hands and the word I see on my wrist is surrender, because this is exactly what I need to do all the time. I have to remind myself all the time. So I think it's a sweet and simple constant reminder of just who I'm supposed to be and how I'm supposed to act. And then another one I have is on my forearm. This one is my favorite one. It's deer antlers, and it's very interesting. It's the one I get asked about the most because people are just like, why you have deer antlers? Like, are you a hunter? And it's no, but a verse that has gotten me through some of the toughest times is Psalm 41, verse 1 and 2. And it says, as a deer thirsts for water, I thirst for God. And that has reminded me of the hunger that I constantly want to have, the desire I constantly want to have. And it's a beautiful, just another reminder of saying, like, this is who I am. I'm hungry for God. I'm hungry for whatever it is that He has. And so I loved it. It's beautiful. And then my final tattoo I have on the back of my arm, and it's a cross where it has His sort of encrypted into it. And that one I forget about because it's all the way back there. But I got that one. It was a choice between that one and another tattoo, but I wanted that one because, like I said, my identity is something that I've struggled with constantly, and having that to know whose I am and who I am all the time, no matter what, keeps me happy. And I want these permanent reminders, not just for me, but for other people, because when someone asks me, why do you have deer antlers? Well, it's because I thirst for God like a deer thirsts for water. And they're like, well, what does that mean? It's like, oh, well, I'm glad you asked. Why do you have surrender on your wrist? Because that's what I want my life to be, a constant surrender. But I think people look at the permanency of it all as a bad thing, or it can't go away. And it's like, good, I don't want it to. I want my story to stay forever. I want people to always ask me questions and always wonder why, because that's exactly how you just start a conversation and you bring people home. If I could tell anyone anything, it would literally just be to breathe, relax, and everything will come together. I have, time and time again, I've worked myself up in a frenzy, in fear and anxiety, forgetting that the God I serve, the God that loves me so much, is faithful, and that His faithfulness is a full circle. So whether you are young or old, breathe, relax. It is all taken care of. And all that God wants for you is to just live and to be